Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and if you're a guitar player who's looking to make some more money, then listen very closely to what I'm about to tell you. If you're a guitar player, or any other kind of musician for that matter, or if you know a musician who wants to make some more money without having to tour or go on the road, or put up with any of the other BS musicians normally have to deal with, then you need to download this new special report about how to make a small fortune by licensing your music. And by licensing music, I mean getting your music inserted into movies, television shows, and commercials. The report is less than 20 pages long, and it was written by Mike Elsner, who I interviewed in episode number 167 of this show. Mike's been doing this for over 14 years, and he's had over 2,000 songs licensed at this point in time. That means he's getting paid to license almost 150 songs per year. Now, keep in mind, most successful career musicians don't get paid for 150 songs in total over a 30 or 40-year career. Yet, Mike's getting paid for this on an annual basis. And the cool thing about this business is that you can run it from your own home studio, and you'll never have to deal with ivory tower record label executives telling you what to play and how to play it, and no shady managers or unethical business people telling you what to do either. So download Mike's free ebook on the 4-step plan to licensing success right now. Just go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Mike. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. Let me know how you like the book, and now let's get on with the show. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. I'm with a guy that, maybe 20 people told me is one of the coolest, nicest guys and such a great player in Nashville. I'm with Justin Butler. Justin's from Columbus, Ohio. He spent high school playing with adult cover bands on the weekend in Columbus scene, which is a very busy music scene. He was a 4.0 honors student in high school, which is easily believable. He's an extremely sharp dude. And he was awarded a scholarship and an invitation to go to Berklee and audition. Once he got into Berklee, he realized that shredding and jazz was not for him, and so he went back to his telly, which he'd already been dissecting the playing of Brent Mason, Brad Paisley, and Buck Owens and Don Rich, some pretty ambitious players there. He taught himself some country picking, and he switched majors, and he got into the harder major of music production and engineering. When he moved to Nashville in 2007, he started playing as a sideman down on Broadway, and he kept hustling. He's a really good hustler, actually. He's toured with Chris Cagle, Pat Green, Trick Pony, Sarah Evans, Hunter Hayes, and ultimately Randy Houser, who he's toured with for how long?
6 years.
6 years now, which is
about
awesome.
Up to 6 years.
Which is like it's like doggy. It's like 42 years outside of the music business, I think. Right?
Which would be 42 years worth of pay.
Dustin's, like I said, he's really a hustler. He also runs a company called Thru-Tone, and we're going to talk about that. He started that in 2011, and Thru-Tone is Justin's company that makes pedals and does custom vintage amp restoration and mod improvements on both guitars and amps. So if you're anywhere in the Nashville area, he works on some very major guys' equipment. And he's really good, and I'll tell you where you can find him online. You can check out his stuff. And in fact, he has a small workshop that he does all his work out of there for Thru-Tone. And that's it. Here we are. And thanks for coming, Jess. It's a long time scheduling. I appreciate your patience.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh man, don't be silly. So, what prompted you to switch to music production and engineering instead of some aspect of playing up at Berklee?
Honestly, I wanted to learn as much as I could. I didn't, dismiss jazz, but it was a jazz-based school, and ultimately, I didn't see, having a major that said you could perform as being as valuable as learning maybe something that could be applied towards playing music. For me, that was instead of just being the guy laying the guitars, being able to communicate through the glass and seeing how it worked from the other side. And I mean, I wasn't new to recording, but I'd never worked on any, Neve or SSL consoles. I've never cut tape. Pro Tools was easy, and homework with Pro Tools was the same as it is today. Push a couple buttons. But getting hands-on experience with, just racks and racks of patching gear, and or gear to patch bay through. It was really eye-opening to kind of help diversify, I think. And ultimately, I kept practicing. To me, the idea of guitar was you're only as good as you want to be, and you only learn as much as you want to learn. So I didn't stop playing at all. I actually played guitar on a lot of my projects that I would produce. With Dan Huff in mind, I thought, well, this is acceptable. Even when the school kind of went against it, they're like, no, you have to hire all your players. So I do that occasionally.
Did they really?
Well, yeah, because they wanted you to take the producer's hat, and a few chances I had, I kind of pushed the boundaries, and I'd hire one guy to come and lay some guitar, and maybe I'd go over and do some extra stuff. And I was honestly into Dan Huff at the time, and it's like, well, if he can do it,
yeah, that makes no sense. Just because what are they implying, that you're not producing it if it's yourself? If in fact you probably work much harder. I can
see both sides of it. I mean, they really want you to focus on the art of being the producer, the guy that just sits in the chair and has the vision and makes the project happen. So I can see both of it, both sides, and it wasn't an issue. Not all projects I even wanted to play on, so just a few. But yeah, I mean, ultimately to answer that question, yeah, it really helped open my eyes and gave me a little more insight to diversifying. Just have a few more outlets. I didn't know when I came to Nashville if it was going to be slow coming up as a player because the competition as a guitar player is fierce. Maybe end up in a studio interning, not making much money or any money, but maybe comping through Pro Tools for people, doing all the busy work, and I'm pretty efficient at it. And fortunately, I came to town with all the gear and didn't even have to use it. I sold it off. I bored with flying faders and a lot more studio gear, and now I'm just slowly picking a few more things for my own personal use.
Sure.
But luckily, stayed with playing. That's really where my passion is at the end of the day, no matter what, is being a player.
What made you come to Nashville in the first place? Because you're from Columbus. You were going to school in Boston, right? Or where's Berklee?
Yeah, Berklee's up in Boston, yeah. And I mean, your central hubs would be L.A., Nashville, or New York City. And the pop world, the West Coast life and speed really isn't for me. I'm not cool enough. New York's really fast paced too. And musically, I was already into country, and that was something my mom kind of got me into indirectly. I hated it. I was listening to everything from Beatles to Stones and then grunge rock in the 90s. And she's playing the Mavericks. And I and it, but by the time I was exiting high school, I was really getting into the Brent Mason style picking, and that's where, as you mentioned earlier, I really got into that in college. I just delved into all the records he and a lot of these cats have played on, and it wasn't just trying to learn them and half-ass them as much as it was really get the idea of where they were coming from and why that music sounded the way it did. And yeah, I like the idea that Nashville was also close to home, so 6-hour drive, I could be back up to Columbus, see my folks and my friends, and.
Yeah, because I know you're close. I see your pictures of your family on there, so I know you're close. I was like, wow, it's a big, it's a big move when you're 20-something years old to say, hey, I'm gonna. But I didn't realize it was only 6 hours away. But it's still, it's a big move. Yeah, and I don't think the New York scene is anything as busy as it used to be honest with you. So.
Well, I don't know personally, but I know it's definitely a tighter network, and there's definitely more room for showbiz. And while that'd be cool to be a house band, I mean that's earned. That's just like the top gig, top gigs and spots to play out of Nashville. Very large artists.
Talk about Thru-Tone. What kinds of pedals do you make and sell, and what prompted you to get into the business in the first place?
Well, I mean, number one, money. As a musician, we all need to have some kind of supplemental income. And ironically, it took me forever to figure out what to do. All of us try to find side hustles. And I was building pedals and anything really simple. I was getting into just buffering my rig. And
what does that mean?
Well, without getting too geeky, a buffer, it changes a high impedance source into low impedance. And what that audibly just does for your guitar, it restores clarity that you would lose over a long length of cable.
Okay.
And with I don't want to get too in depth with true bypass versus buffered bypass, but there's plenty of debates you can read online about it. And long story short, I realized you do need some kind of buffered setup on a long pedal board because, all that capacitance when everything's off ultimately just is a blanket on your sound. So I was building these smaller circuits, trying to find something that really felt natural under the fingertips for me, because when you think buffer, you think hard and sterile. It's something that makes everything brash and really bright. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's just, they're a very simple circuit. It's nothing, it's not rocket science. But it was for me because I just went through component after component, and ultimately with a few buddies chatting and a few ideas, some drawbacks that those Ernie Ball volume pedals had because they were passive. Why don't we implement this sound and this feel into that pedal and solve, two problems? And I started making those mods to the volume pedals, and it started looking like, a pedal with drilled out holes in the front of it and knobs put in, to the point where my first $1,000 went right back into investing into new components. I did all the graphic design, designed my own fascia, had that made a few more $1,000, designed my own potentiometers, the pots, the volume pots. And I have them made to my spec, and they're made out in Japan, and I have them shipped in here. And yeah, ultimately where it's at now, it's a really bomb-proof design. And yes, it's a volume pedal. It has a string in it.
Right. But is this, so what you came, this is really cool. So how does that, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just so impressed with you. Did all that stuff, and was it hard sourcing quality parts?
It was, because not everything was drop in. You couldn't just buy parts. Everything was kind of custom. So I had to buy very nice parts. At the time, I went through Japan and I bought what were called blue velvet pots, and they were used in real high-end, like Macintosh, hi-fi audio equipment. And I was using those, which is really cool. They didn't fit correctly, so I had to buy special tools and mill out the metal and I had to do all the metal work and fabrication, which took a lot more time. And I ultimately got them to work, and a lot of the early series had those in them until I actually made enough money that I could invest. And when you design a product and you have it manufactured, you can't just buy 20. You have to buy.
Well, you can, but you won't make any money on it.
Well, yeah, that too. And, with minimum orders and shipping overseas, but yeah, it wasn't hard as much as it took work, because I was building the PC boards by hand.
Wow.
Now I have the boards manufactured overseas, but I populate them and build them here in the States by hand. I don't believe in SMT components are what are done by a big machine, and it's cost effective if you're doing a big business. It's what all the major manufacturers kind of go to, but man, you can hear it, you can feel it. They don't sound as good. It's pretty much having your MacBook Pro computer parts in a guitar pedal. They're actually so high fidelity that they lack any I hate to say it, it'd almost be negative, because if the tolerance is off, that would be a bad thing. But that's kind of what makes the mojo of why pedals and amplifiers in particular, everyone sounds a little different. Everyone has its own special trait to it. And in general, you're getting a quality product and a consistent product if the QC's there, I think.
So you basically modify these Ernie Ball pedals to your. Would it be cost effective or smart or like a better business decision to have your own pedal, or not really?
I thought about it. It wouldn't be, because to manufacture that much, those Ernie Ball pedals are made out of solid aluminum milled into shape, and then there's two pieces put together with a pinion setup. And to do that in the States, the cost of machining and all the metal, I'd be buying my own pedals and making very little money. So, luckily for me, Ernie Ball was on board. I got in touch with them, and I have a rep there, and I can buy direct through Ernie Ball.
Okay.
And that was really nice. So the downside of that is I didn't approach them with an NDA or
so they.
And ironically, like 5 years later, my rep's like, by the way, at NAMM we're going to release our new MVP. And it's funny, if you look at it, it's like aesthetically at least 75% mine. But I didn't revolutionize anything. I think I was the first guy that started the volume pedal mod officially. There's a bunch of companies that started doing it, and I get emails still every day. Why does yours cost so much? And I have to explain, there's a difference from a mod versus mine is my own pedal design and durability enhancements, just utilizing the Ernie Ball shell, because there's just no better feeling volume pedal on the market. And I think that's just a period statement personally.
Do you give a guarantee?
I I can give a guarantee on all, I mean, there's a warranty on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I can't really guarantee, most people complain about the string snapping. It's still their design. And
no, on the sound, like, in other words, like a lot of times if you just say, hey, listen, if you're unhappy with it, I guarantee it, what's different about it, why you're paying more is because of the sound. If you're unhappy with it, send it right back. Absolutely.
I'll tell anybody if they don't like it, just make sure it doesn't look used if it comes back new. But in all the thousands I've sold, I've not had one come back.
That's what I'm saying.
Obviously, they switch hands. People change what they like in their rig, and I see them go used, but not that often. Most people are pretty firm supporters, which that's cool.
That is good.
And that ultimately led to different things. I've also done things where we turn them into expression pedals because a lot of people like that footprint and that feel. But instead of being volume controllers, you use it to control a parameter of another set effect. So maybe like the delay time of a delay pedal.
Oh, that's cool.
You just down. And Ernie Ball just never manufactured the actual pot that you need to make those function. So not only did I have the pots made, I designed a few switches on the front. So it's universally acceptable across like at least 90% of requirements versus there's so many different variations of requirements out there that you normally have to buy a certain pedal for a certain other pedal. And mine works across the board. You just flip the switches and set it to what you need it to do, and it kind of internally will reconfigure. So,
can you get a patent on any of that?
Not really. The reason people don't do patents on electronics, unless it's something that revolutionary, is that first off, you have to disclose what the circuit is, so it'd be up on the internet. Yeah. Two, all someone has to do is just change one component and repatent it, or just change one component and sell it.
Okay. And they're not violating your particular patent. Yeah. Correct. So you got to just the pain of doing it is greater than the pain of not doing it. Yeah.
Trust me, I thought about it. I was like, were there things to patent? Maybe I came up with a new drive system for the pedal that wouldn't break, maybe didn't use a string. If I did that, that'd be worth a good 10, 12 grand to patent, get at least a provisional. And, but at that point you'd have to approach Ernie Ball, and if they said no, you just spent money on provisional or the patent. And, it was designed for that pedal. I'm not a full-time machinist by any means. So this is fun for me. And, it's a volume pedal, man. It's not a deal. So many people are always like, Justin, what's just a volume pedal? And I'm like, I know. I never said it was anything different, but I'll tell you what, it's really that good. And, the reason there's no demos of it is just for that. It's a volume pedal. I mean, it's quiet and it gets louder. You can't demo the response under your fingertips and how well the taper throws on using it when you compress a video on YouTube and the audio is crushed. So, but anyone that wants to come by the shop, if they're visiting town or any of my buddies in town, they come by and I show them the insight I have on where to place it and how to use it. And if they like it, it definitely can be eye-opening. A lot of people are just like, didn't ever think to do it that way.
Is there videos on YouTube? I know you can go to, everybody who's paying attention, is go to Thru-Tone.com, which is THRU-TONE.com. You can see the pedal, but any videos on YouTube of it?
Not really in use because, like I said, it doesn't make sounds. It just,
it's volume pedal. Yeah.
It attenuates volume as you put your heel down on it, But that said, I'm sure you can watch any video of me or any of the countless millions of other guitar players around the world with their foot on a volume pedal, and it's like, that's how it works.
Yeah, I hear you. Well,
there's a lot of geekery on the website. If people are into wanting something so specific, they tend to understand what I'm talking about. If you don't, then buy the cheaper options that make you happy. It's not like my product's what everyone would need to buy. It's for the people that know what they want and they want the tip top. That's what I'm here to offer. And, it's kind of what you pay for. It's every component has been thoroughly thought through, custom made, and they're hand built by me. And there's a lot riding on the line. I can't be selling crappy products out here as a guitar player either. So, I take it with full pride, and I really want to showcase my love of that passion with through the product.
Awesome. So, do you have any other pedals coming out soon?
I don't really have my own line. I mainly do mods on those pedals, rehouses. countless players. We were mentioning Leroy, a lot of players in town, even McNelly, all those guys, rehousing Nobles and Ibanez Moss Distortions. Those Moss Distortions were the Ibanez overdrive pedals, ironically not really a distortion pedal, an older discontinued model. And yeah, they were kind of the bee's knees here in Nashville, and they still are. But durability over the years, they have a lot of parts that tend to break. So I do rehouses on a lot of different pedals, but those two are my primaries, and I actually keep enclosures in stock because I have so many people bring them by.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've thought of doing the line of pedals, but that becomes a full-time business. And at the end of the day, I'm still playing guitar, I'm on tour, and if someone calls for a gig last second in town, if I have time to, put the music under the fingers and get out to it, I'm going to go do that.
Sure.
So, you have to make a choice, and I'm not ready to be a full-time, in the shop inhaling solder fumes.
I totally get it. A lot of things you can't do, a lot of things just like you can't be a part-time accountant. You know, I mean, or part-time, surgeon, there's certain, and this is a big commitment and time and money.
And I describe it as being, running 2 full-time jobs because I split my time, and my passion goes between both of them. My ultimate passion is still playing guitar, but, like you had mentioned, I've been bringing in a lot of vintage amps. I've been restoring my own vintage gear forever. And it just so happened enough people were just like, I want you to make my amp sound like that amp. And so now, I don't really tote Thru-Tone as an amp repair or a restoration company or anything yet. We'll see as it comes. But I mean, I have amps on the shelves every day, and I tend to only take the vintage ones. If people want to bring in a new thing, a Dr. Z or a Morgan, if I have time, absolutely. They're actually easier to work on because they're so clean. But there's a passion and a pride of actually taking care of an old Plexi or an old Blackface or Tweed, JMI Vox, versus the new stuff with all the PCB boards in there. I'd rather just send them down the street to the guys that do it 24/7. They're quicker. I like to be meticulous, methodical, and I use NOS tubes. If you want vintage parts, I'll source out the correct period parts. I'm kind of that guy, I guess, that.
If you got vintage stuff, but if you have vintage stuff, that's the stuff you're the guy people want.
Let's not skimp on it.
Yeah,
it's gonna cost a little more, but at the end of the day,
get what you pay for.
$3,500. What's an extra $200 in caps or a few preamp tubes? I mean, they're gonna last, and tell you what, it's gonna sound great.
Yeah, most importantly, which is why people buy vintage gear in the first place. Are you working on anything now outside of this that you're excited about?
Currently, the only thing really as a project would be, we were talking, my project MIPS, my best buddy Tripper Ryder and myself, we started this project about 2.5 years ago, and the concept was simple. We wanted to do a bar band, almost a Broadway gig, which ironically we actually started on Broadway. And we didn't really know what the show was going to be. And then we've morphed to where we've been now. We have a residency at the Sutler and a bar here in Nashville. And it's a cool project, whereas we want to do a cover band, but we just don't want to play modern top 40 or country tunes and not really have any something that doesn't have immediate value for us, versus let's play hits. Let's just play everything musically that was inspiring to us or is inspiring to us now. So every month we pick a different theme and we tackle it. And the caveat is that we wing it. We write charts. If we're lucky, we do one burn through the day before. If you're messing up on stuff or you don't have it down, you know what to go home and work on real quick. And then we get up on stage the next day at Sutler and we intentionally we try to get shit hammered. And we try to do a good job. We joke about being tip top of the bell curve. Strive for that C+.
Well, let me tell you, for you guys listening, it's called MIPS, and they have a residency every other Tuesday at the Sutler on 8th in Nashville. Man, I cannot tell you how many guys, when I was coming to town, you didn't play that week. You were out.
Sorry.
I asked literally 20 people told me you got to go see Justin, and I've seen your stuff on either YouTube or Facebook, like the covers you did of CCR.
Oh yeah,
that
man.
was phenomenal. And just I saw you're getting ready for the Floyd gig this month. Man, it was tremendous.
I can't wait for this because I've always been a huge David Gilmour fan.
Oh, yeah.
But it's funny that it took me to my 30s to really delve into some of these records. Now we're only playing the 70s stuff, but even the earlier stuff, Syd Barrett era and all that stuff. I don't know. I was never a Floyd head as much.
You're 33,
you know, I do the music.
But you're 33, so that most guys. My son is 27. The only reason he knows Floyd so well is because they're like my favorite band. So he grew up. I mean, how would you have that?
Show, man, it's we're gonna do it 2 weeks back to back. We'll fly you into Nashville.
I'd love to see it. God, I wish I was there.
It should be pretty awesome. I'll definitely have video of it. We'll get a video up online of it and that. Cool. Yeah, it'll be low budget quality as it always is, but it's about, our joke is you get what you pay for. It's $3.99 to get in, baby. So
no, but you guys do a great job on all the stuff you have. You could, I know you say it tongue in cheek, like, we're going to get hammered, but I know, my experience is how you do one thing is how you do everything. The same work ethic that you're bringing to the pedals and the pride of ownership you have, you bring that to your guitar playing. Work ethic is like being pregnant. You're not like, you don't have a really good work ethic here, but like you half-ass it here,
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I appreciate that. It's, it's tongue in cheek, there's a little self-deprecation to it.
Right.
And, but that said, I mean, it's not anyone on their best. I mean, it's their best if you want to see what Nashville session guys do on, off the cuff.
Yeah.
With music that, it's mainly between the ears for us. So
right. You have one practice, like you said.
Weeks I spent listening to say, the Pink Floyd stuff, because whereas Tripper does, the song arrangement and, he'll make the harmonic narrative and the flow of the set. I'll sometimes pick up on the arrangement stuff. So I wanted to arrange for 3 guitars. And I mean, I must have spent 3-4 weeks just burning through our playlist, just listening to it. I didn't want to pick up a guitar yet.
Yeah.
I know what to play. I need to work. I got to practice on it, but that'll come really quick if I can, hum the music. And that works with everything for me. If it's in my head, learning between the ears for me is 90%. I have a chart. That's the guide. That's the roadmap. It doesn't tell you how to do it, but the chart lets you play freely and keep on track. So you know where everyone's going to be, and as long as everyone's doing that, you're more than likely going to stay together. And then that last, honestly, the 10% is really honing in and just practicing. And my whole idea with MIPS, where Tripper is our front man, for me, it's really to delve into to the guitar aspect. If we're playing Cream, I'm not going to just solo in an E minor pentatonic thing versus Clapton had a feel. I'm going to try to adapt it. I'm not going to try to mimic it. We're not a full-on tribute show, all the way to say like, Pink Floyd. It's Gilmour's got a very, specific, slow approach to notes, bending slowly and releasing slowly. So the nuances are important. And for me, that's what we do. So whether it's a rock show, if we're playing Radiohead or we're playing the Kinks and Beatles, it's, some of the homework is in listening to where those records were made and what they used. And I'm not about, I don't have to get the exact same gear. I'm not worried about that.
That doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you know the sound you're going for and you can get something convincing.
Look, you got a Strat, a Les Paul, and a Tele. You probably got,
appreciate that,
yeah, you got 90% covered, But the other thing too, what you said, you go for the subtleties. The thing is, the average person listening to you can't articulate why you sound so close to, whether it's Fogerty, Gilmour, or Tom York, but they can hear, they say, wow, he sounds just like, they can't articulate why, but that is those subtleties always in anything, whether it's music or business or that's what makes something unique.
I think that's the key, like I said, all the geekery is not for everybody. The guitarist can come and look at the pedal board or stand in the back of the room with their arms crossed and heckle me, because that's what we encourage. We want heckling. If I play them one, you're going to hear it. It's but I mean, that's not the name of the game as much as the people that don't know those subtle details, they're convinced that they're hearing a very good live representation of, say, that sounds like Creedence.
Yeah.
Tripper does the same thing. He adjusts the timbre and the technique of his voice. And we're not going for 100%. We're not the Fab Four doing the Beatles.
Yeah, I get
we're a bunch of dudes doing the Beatles. So in this case,
are you playing Fat Old Son?
What's that?
Are you playing Fat Old Son?
No, we're not.
Okay, a lot of people cover that song.
Nope. Our list on this set is going to go pretty much strictly through 70s and just kind of
Dark Side of the Moon,
Dark Side, Animals,
and Wish You Were Here. Yeah.
All the way around.
Yep.
And then obviously The Wall. And there's no specific order.
Those are some
taken chronologically.
Major records.
Tripper does this narrative harmonically, also rhythmically, so everything flows. So another one of those subtle details that maybe the musicians aren't even getting because it feels comfortable. We're not going to modulate to the next song that's a tritone away. Everything is harmonically in place, and that's a key for DJing. A lot of DJs don't have the theory background, so when they mix and match songs, there's a lot more to that. This song sounds cool when it goes into that song. It's amazing that you can really burn a room, a vibe in a room just by subtle key changes that just don't really.
That's interesting.
It's something you're unaware of. It's a subconscious thing. But if you're conscious about it, it's really nice to make a set that feels that good, and it's pleasing to listen to. Whether you're making a Spotify playlist, something that's really very comfortable. That said, I don't really care if we have to jump a tritone into the next song. That's not going to really upset me. But in the grand scheme of things, it really adds up, I think. And
I interviewed a guy named Paul Nelson, who was Johnny Winter's guitarist, and he produced Johnny's album that won a Grammy. He's probably the brightest. I don't even want to just call him musician because he's just so smart and capable with music. And anybody who's a guitar player listening, I would encourage you to go check out that episode. Go to everyonelovesguitar.com and just search for Paul Nelson. But Paul said, I mean, he's really a talented dude. And he said when he goes on stage, he never puts, he'll never, if a song's in E, he doesn't put the next song in that's in E because he wants to keep changing things because it bores people.
Well, yeah. It can become monotonous for sure. You kind of drive the ship, if you will. I think if you got to take someone somewhere, I think, and rhythmically that helps to change. But to drop a key, it's you're moving somewhere.
Yeah,
good or the bad. It's a wise choice.
I was not aware of any of that. That all these other components, I think people on the outside that aren't musicians don't understand. And I didn't understand until I started talking to a lot of you guys. A lot of the, there's hundreds of moving parts behind a great performance, and that's one of the things you're talking about is one of them for sure, man. You're originally from Columbus. What was your childhood like growing up?
Pretty simple. I like to hang out with friends. Very young age, I started playing guitar at 4. I got private instructions. I was listening to my parents' vinyl, so a lot of Everly Brothers, Roy Orbison, Beatles, Beach Boys, Jan and Dean. Really great music, and it spoke to me. My parents weren't musicians, but they were music lovers, and I wanted to be a rock star then. I think I still do right now. I'm still trying, I guess. But Mom found a little rinky-dink acoustic guitar. She still has it.
That's cool.
Rock shell acoustic, and they took me to get private instruction, and I started there. And I did that. I went to school. I was always a good student. I wasn't into sports. Kind of grew up a fat kid.
Really?
Yeah, and my old man, he's a avid sports fan, and luckily, though, I played some. I played about every sport except football at one given point. And the best father you can have. He didn't care how well I did. He wanted me to go out there and try my best. One of those things.
Yeah,
it lent itself towards everything I did. Just give it your best. Well, the one thing that shined through was you're picking up guitar pretty quick. This seems pretty natural, and I still couldn't play for hell at that age. But it was funny. I learned Stairway to Heaven by the time I was 7.
Wow.
And
That's
not the solo, just all the actual.
still, that's pretty impressive. There's a lot of.
Well, the ironic thing was no one taught me about Led Zeppelin. I was still at that age, and my parents weren't big into that era of rock and roll. My teacher was more classically trained, so it was about giving a young kid a rock and roll song that he could learn, and I was learning how to, just acoustic pick, and which I laugh at to this day. I'm like, no one taught me those Zepp records. I didn't get into Zeppelin until I got in probably late middle school, early high school.
Sure.
And even then, I was still so into modern 90s grunge. I was being a punk kid and stuff. So, but yeah, I definitely went through my paces of all the classic rock into the hard rock. Did all the blues stuff that any guitar player does when they want to learn how to solo. You go to Stevie Ray and Hendrix and start trying to play young white boy blues, but it all adds up, I think, and yeah, at least it got me somewhere.
Yeah, man, for sure. What kind of work did your parents do?
My pops was originally a teamster when I was really young, drove trucks, and then was a machinist for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. He just retired about 3 years ago. My mom worked for a bank, and then she started doing self-employed work, whether, taking care of whether they're doing like cleaning stuff for clients, cleaning house or interior design, one of those kind of all-around housewives.
Just hustler.
Yeah, and she always kicked ass at that. And luckily they just got to retire, and they've always been hard workers, and I got that from them. I've had a job since I was 15. I've never not worked, and I've been fortunate. My career in Nashville, I think I only had to take one job through 3 months of a cold winter, my first winter here.
That's just pretty impressive, man.
I didn't want to ask mom and dad for money. I got a lot of pride there, and if I'm going to die, so be it. I'll make a phone call. I love my parents. But
were you working in Panera? Everybody always works in Panera.
Actually, no. In college, I've only done one food job in college. The last 2 years, I worked at a place called Woody's Pizza, very, very part-time. But my main gig was the Apple store.
That's right up your alley, man.
Yeah, so I did some sales, which I can sell you about anything.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, I mean, you're just like I did a little of
the work. But when I came to Nashville, the cost of living here is so different than Boston. That
hell yeah.
Even though I have more experience than their most trained, they couldn't offer me diddly, really. So I didn't take the job, and I ironically ended up over at Sun and Ski Sports through like 3 months. And I was thinking, well, I'll go sell some snowboards. I used to snowboard a bunch. I know a bunch about extreme sports. Mm-hmm. And ironically, there's one guy in the department that kind of had seniority, so it was commission based. So I stood around and sold Patagonia and North Face jackets because that's where all the money was.
Good.
I hated it. I worked 9 hours on my feet doing sales, and I'd work some gigs here in town, but this is why I was starting to find gigs. And
sure.
It wasn't as easy as just going down and talking to your buddies about getting a Broadway gig, because it was, right off the cuff. You still need to meet all your people and kind of
You didn't have any buddies.
Yeah, and what friends I did have, like, you just can't, they're not giving up their gig for you. So
sure.
it takes a little time, and I was cool with that, but it was a bummer because I wanted to be playing. But it was only about 3 months. Just get me through the cold season, then all the work started coming, and I've been busy since then. So,
did you? Does Randy? How many dates a year do you guys tour?
With Randy, it started off probably about 130, 135-ish, and when I don't know if I've mentioned this to you. We kind of dismantled the band, or he kind of dismantled the band about 5 months ago, and not really in any kind of malicious way at all. It was actually a really good thing. He just he's in a creative zone trying to find out what he wants to do with the new record, and he's doing more of like a broken down trio thing for live work because he didn't want to tour that much this year. So where it went to about, we were doing 90 shows. Last year we might have done 50, not much at all.
Okay.
So this year, we're still technically employed under, that organization. But yeah, 3 of us guys, we're out here just picking up more work and looking for more work, doing the typical Nashville hustle.
Sure.
And, Yeah, I think Randy's really working really hard on trying to get the new album together. And as far as we know, I think he's just going to try to keep it broken down for this year. And if he calls us back, cool. You know, we're all great friends, and it ended in the best way. I
Sure.
mean, he really took care of us guys. But yeah, it's kind of weird because most gigs I've been on, I tend to not stick around more than about a year and a half, whether it's something else comes about or I need a change. And with Randy, it was very disheartening, not the loss of just the gig, but, you know, predominantly, I'm not getting on the bus with my boys anymore. We have family going on.
Well, 6 years is a long time, really long to be spending time with people. Yeah,
that's the name of the game. You know, it's you don't invest yourself into the gig. You invest yourself, you know, into doing your job for that gig. And it's always inevitable. It's going to come to a halt. And hopefully for the better, it's not, you know, you're all, you know, shit canned or anything, which, like I said, it was a really good situation, and him and management really did well by us, took care of us.
That's good.
And, yeah, it was really nice there, but disheartening to say the least, because we weren't ready to stop hanging out with each other, which we actually hang out in town more, me and all the guys, more now than we ever used to. So we're all great friends and all that, so that's not going to be a problem.
Good.
But,
and so you're all hustling, so you're all helping each other find new gigs.
Yeah, and it's just right now. There's been some auditions around town. Some of us have gone out. Some doing, you know, just hit and miss shows. You know, I'm going out this weekend with a really great female artist, and you know, I did some sub work last year. Pretty much my brother. He's not. I'm only child, but a guy named Chris Scribott. He was my teacher when I turned 12. He was the last teacher I had. And he's pretty much my older brother now, but he's a guitar player for a big Texas artist, Pat Green. And I went out and subbed for him while he went out of the country for a little bit a few months back. So taking work like that's always fun for me. I like sub and temp work because, you know, I'm not out to get anyone's gig, and I love getting to go and play a lot of other music that I enjoy without having to worry about, you know, say moving to Texas.
Where were you? Where in Texas were you?
Between Austin and Fort Worth.
There's a lot of good music around there, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was awesome, and got to spend some time. We had a few days off in Austin, so my hotel was right downtown, and I love to be there. But I'm always normally in Austin during South by to work. So to have a night off and actually walk around when streets weren't flooded. Oh,
that's cool.
I got to find a few really great cocktail bars, hear some great music, and
who'd you hear? Anybody in particular you saw over there?
No one of a name. You know, just, you know, it's kind of like a Broadway thing.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of bands that you don't care to see, and then you'll walk in and you'll see some really great players. But no one I got to stick around to actually meet, and no one, unfortunately, like I would like to go see David Grissom. Big fan of him playing, but he wasn't playing.
He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. I interviewed him like last week. Man, he's an amazing player,
there's no doubt he's an amazing player, super nice guy, and
so cool.
Yeah, I would love to go see him. It just didn't line up that week while I was there. That would probably be him, or if Red would have been playing while I was down there.
Red's awesome. Andy Timmons is also there. I don't know if you know Andy. Yeah, he's a great player.
Andy's great. I actually, one of the guitar players, John Carroll, he's a Texas guy. He's a dynamite alien of a guitar player, just that great. And I was subbing for Chris with Pat in one of our last shows. You see your cat behind you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I just saw a yawning cat head. Yeah, but one of the other guitar players had to sub out too. So John Carroll came in to sub, which ironically,
that's cool.
I was playing lead and he was playing more acoustic, which is to me just wrong because, like I said, alien of a player and a sweet human being too. But that was really cool to play a show with him. I've been a longtime fan, and one of my first bus gigs in town years back was Chris Cagle, and John Carroll was the guy that laid a lot of those tracks on the record and toured with Chris. So I stepped in some big shoes there, learning that material then, and then of course hearing him over the years. So
I bet I just thinking doing these MIPS gigs though. I would imagine that really fills your, arrows, your quiver up with a ton of arrows because you're learning in a pretty intense way another artist. And the only downside of that, of course, is you're not playing every night, so you can't retain it. But you know, if you get one or two things out of each month,
exactly,
you know, that's a pretty expansive toolbox.
Yeah, it's a bummer to only play 2 shows a month on this music that you really put some heart into. You know, like I said, to play drunk and stupid. But you know, you listen to that stuff, and the thing is, all this music is music we know anyway. But you listen to it in a different light, manner when you know you need to go and try to recreate it, especially you can for a bar. And you retain a lot of the stuff, you know, up in your head, but the fingers, that'll slip, but it'll come right back. It's just weird that you put these charts together and you build this gear, you play 2 shows, and then I file away the charts and we move on.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't figure out a way to,
other than personal payoff. And you know, we every January we pick a very hard theme. So hence this one's Pink Floyd. Last year was Queen, and it's
oh my god,
how do you pull off Queen
with one rehearsal?
It's a little bar, and the vocals. Yeah, we arranged all the vocal parts for 3 guys, so it was a little more broken down. And you know, Tripper would say it wasn't a great performance. It was great. It was we weren't a Queen tribute, man. We got up there and did our typical thing. And you're going to hear mistakes. We're going to laugh at them. We're going to have a good time. And ultimately, he sang his ass off. The guys played so well. I borrowed a 1963 Candy Panel AC30, dimed it, ran a treble booster into it, dimed it, modded my Strat, which is ugly green. I called it the green special. I modded it very similar to the red special Brian May uses.
Right.
The perk of being a geek as I am is all my gear.
If you need a mod, okay, no biggie.
If I need to tweak something to make it right, you know, it's like I'm at my workshop. You know, that's what I did for the David Gilmour stuff. I took a black Strat, the old American Standards, the first electric guitar my old man bought me, and I've just never liked it.
I saw that post.
Yeah, I hate the hardware on it. I've just never liked them that well. Ironically,
I mean Strats in general, that particular,
just that one, yeah.
That's really weird.
I ripped the whole thing apart, set the whole thing up, redid everything electronic, frets, cut a new nut on it, and I turned it into the black Strat that Gilmour uses aesthetically. Yeah. An extra set of pickups that I had, which are my favorite set, they just happen to be out of my other Strat right now. And I put it in it, and I'm telling you, this guitar is awesome now. So
that's good.
You know, Dad finally gets to say, "See, I told you. I'm glad you didn't sell that guitar," which I never would. I told him I'd never sell my first one. But yeah, I mean, that's part of the fun game. It's like a pedal didn't work or it's broken and I need it. I'm at the shop. I'll rip it open and I'll fix it or I'll mod it right then and there and then put it on my board for the show. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun of the show too for me.
Hey, let's talk gear for a few minutes while you're on it. What's your go-to? You got some nice, I see it looks like PRS, a Les Paul, and a Tele up on the wall? Or is that, what's that one in the middle? Is that a PRS?
I don't have a PRS. Ironically, I've just never really wanted one because they just play too damn easy for me. But they are beautiful, and they're good sounding guitars. They do a sound that no other ones can do. The one behind me, that's a baritone, just a cheapo $400 or $500 Dan Electric baritone. Mm. And I'll tell you this, it's freaking awesome.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I mean, they're made out of this crappy hollow fiberboard, and they're boingy, and they're just the sound, you know. There's a newer rendition of them called the Jerry Jones Company. Jerry makes them, and they're really great, too. They're kind of made like better Dan Electros. But
I didn't know they were still around, that company.
Well, I don't know if they are still being made currently. I haven't seen them. They used to be in shops here in this town. You get like Corner Music or something. That I just don't know because I kind of always stuck with the Danos. I kind of like the cheapness of them. But that baritone's amazing. What do I have back there?
Got a Tele and a Les Paul.
Yeah, that Tele's my number one for sure. It's a Greenwich Village custom guitar. A guy named Jonathan Wilson, he hand builds these really cool, or he used to, replicas. And I mean, you know, they'll fool your granddaddy. They're really amazing. I've played some old 50s and 60s guitars. Unfortunately, don't have the kind of finances to afford them. But I'm comfortable with it because the amount I play on a guitar, I need to refret them every couple of years anyways. And I'd hate to travel with, you know, an old 53 Blackguard and have to freak out about the neck getting wonked out or wearing the frets out. So these aren't cheap guitars, but like a lot of guys build custom hand-built pieces, his were very just, there's something special about them. They're aged in a way that they just have some real vintage mojo. And then next to that's just that's an R9 burst Les Paul, and always in 1-1. And that one has a kind of cool story. A few buddies had owned it previously here in town. It had traded hands, and it was originally a Brad Whitford's. Came off, I think, like the
Kidding me.
Yeah, either the 9 Lives tour or post 9 Lives, I think. Brad Whitford was playing that guitar, and he hawked it off at a Guitar Center, and it worked its way to Nashville.
Wow. I'm
buddies with a few guys. Have you interviewed Ryan Warner or Jed Hughes?
No.
All right. These are two cats, just phenomenal players. Jed's out in LA now, but they traded hands through them, and drinking beer with them. It was cool to finally catch up on the story. I'm like, I have a guitar, and I need to hear what's true about it. So yeah, needless to say, that story was true. But, I have a slew of Tellys, man. Tellys are my number one, and 335, some Les Pauls, a couple Strats, and then just the typical one-offs, random guitars, and a couple acoustics and that. But
that's an interesting name of a guitar company, Greenwich Village Guitar.
Yeah, well, it was actually out of Greenwich Village is where he started.
Oh, in New York, really?
Yeah, Greenwich Village, yeah. So it wasn't just a clever name.
That's where I hung out when I was a kid.
Ironically, they were still called GVCG after he moved to Laurel Canyon.
So he moved to the opposite end of the country and called it Greenwich Village. That's funny. I would think.
Yeah, so he kept the name, and then Jonathan Wilson. I've never met the guy. I only chatted via email, but a great artist, great singer and songwriter. And he started going out on tour, opening for like Wilco and Petty and all those guys. So as far as I know, those guitars aren't being built, and if he is building them, they're so off the map. You probably need to be in the scene, but they're always floating around there on the internet. You can kind of find them, and they're not cheap, boy. They're not, crazy. It's not astronomically priced, but
I have to look them up just for curiosity's sake.
When you see a Telly for $3,000 to $5,000, and it's
and it's
you really question why is that more than say an $1,800 to $2,500 one, and it's one of those things. The proof is in the pudding, and.
Well, it has to be because those off brands, you can't. They're harder to sell generally. Even like not necessarily Tom Anderson's, but there's a lot of luthiers that it's harder to sell that.
Oh yeah, and I mean those modern guitars are really cool too. I'm just personally, Sirs and Andersons are like, for example, they're very modern feeling and sounding. I know they like stainless steel frets and all these things that are actually really great. But for me, there's something about the vintage aesthetic. I like it to say Fender on the headstock. I don't know. I'm not saying if it's not a Fender, I won't play it, because majority of all my Fenders aren't Fenders, but they say Fender on them. I'm not trying to fool anybody. I love telling people what they are. They weren't made to fool anybody or to have more value. They're made that way because the makers, had personal connection with the early age music that was created with these instruments, and that's kind of why I like it too. I was listening to vinyl records of these instruments being played. These are the sounds that inspired me to ever want to play guitar. So, while PRS is great and it has its place in a lot of music, and by all means, I'm sure I'll have one at one point. I like the fight of an older guitar, a big fat neck Paul, or the bite of a Telly, that snarl and that growl that you get on a good bridge pickup. It's amazing. And, it's something to be said about the guys that really take it seriously. And you can tell, I have one around here somewhere. I think it's behind me. It's my first, well, it's not my first, but it's, as far as right now in my arsenal, it's the first guitar I've kept that I just love. It actually has a different aesthetic. The headstock's its own shape, and it's called a Greg. My buddy Dusty Gregg out in Fort Worth, Texas, he builds his guitars, and whereas most guys use, they make parts, you call them parts casters. You still get the bottoms and necks, and then you tweak them and hand contour them. He gets all this vintage, old wood, aged, dried out, and he hand shapes and cuts everything. So this Telly is really I know the people can't see it, but you can. You might have seen a picture of this.
Oh no, I haven't. It's okay. So it's a hollow body white guitar.
So it's pretty much like a thin line with the standard electronics of a normal Tele. You see the headstock. It's just a little different, and obviously you have to, otherwise Fenders are going to come after you for share and cease and desist. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't bother me in the least because this guitar resonates and rings.
Is it like burnt maple or something?
It's bird's eye maple, yeah, and torrified is the word. I think it's a made up word. There's a torrefaction. I'll have to look that up. But it's ultimately the process of baking moisture out of the wood, and I guess the sugars in the wood naturally caramelize, and they come out. And the drier the wood gets, it resonates. I don't know. It's something about the tightness or something. It allows it to resonate. There's some pseudoscience here that, whereas I like pedals and electronics, when it comes to woodwork, I let the professionals do that, you know. But yeah, I'll tell you what, man, there's something about the way that guitar, it sings. And I think I used it on the CCR night, if I believe correctly. But it's just, yeah, it's really cool. The semi-hollow thing, I've just never owned a Tele like that. And it really opens it up. It's really airy and breathy. And the first pickup that came with it was just a little bit too modern for me. And I gave him my spec of exactly what I wanted. Gauge wires, the magnet slugs. And he wound me the pickup.
Wow, that's pretty detailed. You're probably the only customer he's had that's ever done that.
Well, no, but luckily him and I are good buddies, so you know, we get drunk together occasionally.
Oh no, I'm sure he was appreciative. He's probably happy.
Like, yeah, he loved it. He was pumped to do it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
To the point that this pickup sounded so good that he's put in a few other models that he has out for sale. And
nice.
I think Gruen Guitars here in town. Yeah. They have like 3 or 4 of his guitars in the shop, and yeah, they're not cheap. They're not overly priced. They're worth it. I mean, it's for a new age guitar. Man, it can slay some competition, I'll tell you that. And they feel so good.
Well, shout out to Greg Guitars too, man.
Yeah, man. I have no problem shouting out to him, man. He works his ass off, and yeah, it shows. The second you pick up a guitar, you haven't heard a piece that resonates and rings like that. It's pretty great.
If I asked you to pick your top 3 favorite albums in no particular order, and knowing that this could change tomorrow, what would you pick?
Yeah, it could change. That's such a hard question. If I were to go back early, say, like, Are You Experienced? Hendrix for sure. That was a lot of inspiring music on there. Guitar tones driven to this day, early 90s ZZ Top, a record called, or album called Rhythmine. And it seems like most people, I hate to say this because people hearing this might go, of course we know that. Most people don't know that.
I don't know that album. What's it called?
Rhythmine. Kind of the word rhythm with E-E-N on the end of it. If you want to hear just swamping rock and roll, butt rocking guitar tones.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out.
It's one of my favorites. There weren't a lot of hits on that one, if any really big radio hits. But to this day, I just keep going back to that album. I can listen to it once every week and love it. Something Feels. I could go back to Beatles stuff. Hard Day's Night. That's always one of my favorite. I like early Beatles. I'd say the official third would be Bringing Down the Horse by Wallflowers. That was a vibes.
That was a good record.
That was just a vibes record that to this day it doesn't age at all. It's not a classic in the general sense, but to me that's a later album with just a bunch of records on it that are just brilliant. Jay Joyce and Michael Ward were on guitar all over that. Really great layers of
Jay
tone.
Joyce, the producer?
Producer, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he did some of the guitars on that thing. Michael Ward did all the really cool slide stuff. Matt Chamberlain came in and did some drums on that album as well. And that has just been a musical album that I've loved, But guitar-wise, there's some really great guitar. It's more the subtle stuff that really perks my ear.
I've never
Flash these days.
I haven't heard that as a choice. That was a cool. I mean, it's a great record, but I haven't. You're the first person to say the Wallflowers.
Well, I mean, in that vein, I could probably name another band, and I could give you one album because they're also good. A New York-based band called the Damnwells. It's another band I've just been so hip to, and they haven't had an album in many years. I don't know if they're still together. They've had a few different iterations of the band, but I don't know. It's we can all say, Tom Petty and Wilco, but to listen to something that was inspired by those, that brings a little new light to it. That's kind of, it's been exciting for me because it's like all the classic albums, we've all listened to those so many times. So I don't want to sit here and say all the old Hendrix and Stevie Ray albums, but I would tell you, Gary Clark Jr. has been blowing my mind lately. He's another Austin guy, and that dude, it's just, there's a rawness to his playing, and the guitarist that plays with him, King Zapata, both those guys are just phenomenal players, and I like the rawness. I don't need clean pretty, you know. It's technical aficionados like a Joe Bonamassa. It just doesn't move me like listening to Gary Clark when someone's singing something out with soul under their fingers, let alone literally singing.
Yeah.
So
that's why I love Gilmore. He does it for me. He's not a flash guy by a long shot.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and it's so funny, the nuances in his playing. I mean, it's great. You know, there's early records and everything from, you know, his intro was in 67 or something.
But he didn't really become David Gilmour, in my opinion, until after Sid left.
Yeah.
You know, well, I mean, to me, when metal came out, that's when he started becoming David Gilmour. You know, that for me anyway, the David Gilmour I love.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, you know, and it's like it was really funny. Also, because of playing this show, David Gilmour to me in my mind is, you know, the aged David Gilmour. We all know what he looks like now. Yeah. But going back and watching them in the studio, to see him as a young man with all these other guys.
Long hair, cool dude, yeah.
A giant stack of high watt amps, and man, it's really cool, man. There's some cool years in your 20s to be making music like that, and you know, making records like that. It's really impressive. So you kind of take some of that stuff for granted when we just listen to these. You know, it's like everyone loves the Beatles, but to actually go watch all these documentaries and see where it all happened and how it came up all the way through, you know, Abbey Road and all that was really cool to, it's way more in depth behind the scenes and versus just, man, this music sounds great and I like it. So, you know, and I guess that's kind of part of us learning all these tunes we do. It's everything's like that, you know, whereas I might not have been really deep into like the Smiths, you know, it's
good band. Real good band.
It's like
they're out of it, like what, Atlanta? Smiths are an Englishman. Sorry, I was thinking of the Smithereens for a second.
Smithereens are great too. Their singer just passed away recently too.
Is that Pat Denizio? No.
Yeah,
did he really?
I believe so. Was it him or the guitar player? Someone of the Smithereens just passed away. I remember.
I didn't know that. That's terrible.
I'm not a huge Smithereens fan, but I don't dislike them by any means, but like the Smiths for me, it was just like,
oh, they're a great band.
That Johnny Marr guitar stuff.
That's
really
good.
That rocked my world. It's kind of like, where have I been? Why have I not been dissecting this guy's playing?
No, that guy is amazing.
Yeah, it's brilliant playing, brilliant songwriter. Stuff kills me, man. It's just
I got to get that guy on the show. I'm going to write that down because I love his playing.
Please do.
I'm going to get him on the show. Tell me something about yourself that people would be either surprised to know or find a little odd.
Well, if they weren't already following Instagram, I think the biggest one that perks people's head sideways is the cooking thing. I really enjoy cooking.
And let me tell you, I'm not a foodie at all, but every time you put something up, I'm like, man, that shit looks good. Whatever it is, I honestly, I eat like so boring. I'm like you. I was real chubby as a kid, so I'm like, you know, I eat 6 times a day. I eat protein, carbs, you know, so I don't have any flexibility. But I watch you eat, and I'm like, shit, that looks so good.
Well, man, it's one of those things. Like I grew up not eating much fancy food, and I like everything, but I don't know. It's another hobby. Just as much as I'm passionate about, you know, playing music or building something for music. Food, man, nourishment for the stomach, for the soul. And the plating thing's almost a gimmick. I have no culinary background, so while someone professionally might chuckle at a picture I'd make, I don't know. But I made what I think is
who cares? I mean, you could have someone chuckle even if you are a professional. I mean, since when are professionals indemnified from being humiliated on the internet? You know, I mean, shit. And if you're going to worry about that.
Some of those, you know, and some of the dishes, they look really good. I mean, I wouldn't post them if I didn't think they looked clean and classy. But the joke has always been, it's like, man, who's the lucky lady that you're cooking for? And it's like, I'm by myself tonight. And they're like, you played your own food? I'm like, yeah. I'm not spending my own all this time to make pasta or make a scratch-made sauce and then just slop it in a bowl. It's like, well, like the joke of being, the typical an overly narcissistic selfie taker to promote your face on, social media. It's like, well, if this is my narcissism, so be it. It's like, I'm sharing my creation with you. So it's like, I love taking pictures of if the dish came out well, it's like, well, yeah, I want to plate it really well. Does it make it taste any different? No. But there's I don't know, there's an organic connection there. It's one works harmoniously with the other, I feel. Especially if it tastes good. If it doesn't taste good, I mean, I guess you could still make it look good if you didn't burn it.
Nobody knows if that's so. That's a good thing.
That is true. I've only had a few instances where I maybe had to like flip something around the other way if like you got a little bit too much of a sear on something. But yeah, I think most people find that odd because I don't look like the typical guy that would really be into cooking when you see me geeking out playing music. But yeah, I mean,
you had one picture of a cigar and a set and a snifter of scotch.
Yeah.
I still remember it. It was like last year's, maybe 4 or 5. It was just like, it just looked like I don't know what I was doing when I saw it. I'm like, man, why am I not doing that?
Why are we hanging out? Well,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, you got an invite next time you come to town. We tend to hang out at this joint called The Spot. My buddy's a cigar rep and has kind of the end there. It's a little private club. And
oh, dude, I'd love to go.
Yeah. Whether it's scotch or I tend to drink a lot of rye up there or Blanton's bourbon. For some reason,
is great.
Bland's it's the most expensive. I'll tell you what, it's pricey.
Get what you pay for.
Yeah, it is pricey though, and it is worth every bit of it.
Oh, it's really good.
And for some reason, I like a good neat Blanton's and a cigar.
Yeah,
I'm not a big smoker. Never cigarettes, but I like to dabble in my hobbies. So whether it's cigars, cooking, wines, I'm into beers and liquor. I'm into automotives and engine work. Whatever hobby I'm into, I tend to read a lot about it. I'm a coffee snob, and I'm sitting here, my mug's empty, so it's like, man, what would be awesome in that?
What's your favorite coffee?
Mine, whatever I make at the house. I don't have a place. Everyone's like, where do you like to go in town? I'm like, well, I'd shout out to say like Crema or something here in town, but I just don't really go out to a lot of coffee shops. I invested in a super automatic machine here, so
man,
if I'm going to do a slow pour or a French press, which I do like, the super automatic is like you pre-program the whole thing. It's got the fresh bean hopper. I get fresh local roasted beans here from Nashville, and I actually have my own blend that I actually make of them that I've made over the years. And yeah, every morning I can wake up and I just hit the button and it makes the same consistent, perfect cup. And yeah, it's this cup says Starbucks on it. I'm not. Forgive me, Starbucks. I'm not a huge fan. I go there a lot, but it's I do like to support more of the local mom and pop shops around town. They tend to know a little bit more what's going on without over mass marketing hype of not the greatest quality bean.
Totally get it, man. If you ever get a chance, what's that?
I said ultimately, just a lot of hobbies, a lot of little things that I really like getting into, including cigars.
I respect you for that because you're pretty balanced, and I think that you go through life and you've enjoyed a lot of slices of it, and I think when you're my age, which I don't even believe I'm my age, but you can look back and say, man, I really enjoyed this and that, and I did this and that, and there's nothing I should have done, or I have no regrets, which is very important, I think.
Yeah. I try to take advantage of what I can, and being in a position where I'm at now, being a musician, you're not. I don't speak for everybody, but I'd say most of us, we're not in a financial place that spending money on, say, cars is really the smartest idea, but the supplemental income helps, whereas my work money goes directly into my bills, my investment stuff. The supplemental income, can go into, taking a pretty girl out on a date or buying a nice guitar or something, the hobby stuff. And the passion.
Or buying a nice cigar, getting a shot of Blanton's.
Yeah, and it's worth it because it's,
Because you're living.
Yeah, and with guitars is my profession. Cars are absolutely a hobby. That's tricky. I put a lot of money into the SRT, and I still will continue, but I've had to slow down. And that's the thing. As long as you know how to maintain it and do it right, you're not just trying to hook on something. If you put on a turbo without actually building up the engine and actually building up the transmission, you're going to blow something and spend a lot of money. So taking it nice and slow and just doing the correct build over time, I think is more important for a guy like me. I don't want to get in a habit of overdoing things and then putting myself in a hole where you have a car that's sitting and you can't afford to make it run again. Yeah. So that's been a hobby, but that's kind of a dumb one. A lot of people they kind of,
I don't know that it's dumb.
Call me that because they know how much money you're spending when you're talking automotives, and that's very cost.
Yeah, I mean you got to live though, man. I mean, if that's what you like, that's what you like.
Well, damn right. I do agree. Because,
no, I mean, I never pay attention to what other people say.
It's one of my favorite purchases. I always wanted that SRT8 Jeep, and I got the first year model, the 06, just a couple years ago, and high mileage, but really well taken care of. And I've gone through, rebuilt the whole top half of the engine, upgraded the transmission, and it'll eventually get to the point where the block will get changed out, and it'll get, It's fun. I don't race. I'm not a racer around town. I actually drive very slow, and I wave at all Metro because I want them to know a young, respectable man listening to classic rock, not slinging drugs or anything. It's all blacked out. I have illegal tints all over it, and it's
yeah, I've seen it.
So I definitely want to have the respect of the local Metro. So when they see it, no one's giving me a hard time yet. So, but that said,
got a lot more important things to chase down than
town. I don't mind if a Mustang or a Challenger wants to come up and mess around with me. I'll give them a run for their money if I know they're not at least blown or anything. So,
oh man, I think it's good that you're having fun. Who's had the biggest influence on you in your life?
I'll have to actually give that shout out back to I mentioned my later guitar teacher, Chris Scribot. Guitarist for Pat Green now, and I mean it when I say he is pretty much my brother. I've never had because he's taken that spot for me. He's the guy that I came to him with some years since I was 4 of formal guitar training, but I just didn't know how to play. No one was introducing me to the playing of Hendrix and Stevie and these guys, and I'll tell you what My old man knew I was kind of slouching. I was getting older and wanting to hang out with friends more. And he saw this guy playing at the local blues jams around town and pretty much went up to him and just said, "Is there anyone that plays like you that gives lessons?" And Chris actually gave lessons at a local shop in town and brought me over. And my dad and I still joke, I saw Chris walking up and I was like, "Dad, is that my teacher? He has long hair." I thought it was the coolest, because my other teacher, my first teacher was just elderly gentleman and still love him to death. And I was just in that age where I needed something hip to relate to. And Chris not only became my buddy, he became my mentor. Everything he had to say was just kind of right. And he knew instantaneously that this was going to be an easy learning process. And I just kind of sponged it up. It was about 2.5 years. I had lessons with him to the point he was just kind of like, he told my dad that, well, I can't teach him a lot more. He needs to kind of learn on his own now. So it's like he was the one responsible for encouraging my dad to have me out at bars when I was, I was 11 or 12 or whatever it was, 12, I guess, 12 and 13. And then by the time I was in high school, I was playing, bars that my dad had to take me to with adult bands, cover bands. And from there, Chris kind of moved on with the dream. He would always been playing locally and got that gig with Pat. And now he's out in Texas, still doing that. And then I went to college and I moved to Nashville. We're totally separated, not hanging out at all. And then I started doing it full time. And here we are. We do the same thing. We have some years between us.
Well, it's nice you sub for him, though.
Yeah, so I'll sub for him, and I'd say sub for me. Just we've never had the chance where I've needed anyone to sub to come in. But
how far is that to Austin?
What's that?
How far is that from Austin to Nashville?
I don't know. If I'm in a bus, no offense, I'm normally sleeping.
Yeah, I hear you.
And he's actually in Fort Worth.
Okay.
That's the band's between Austin and Fort Worth. They kind of all commute around. But yeah, ultimately, that to answer the question, absolutely, Chris. He's the one who's responsible for me becoming an actual player, not just a guy that was trying to learn guitar. He got me on the path to learn my own voice, or at least work on developing my own voice, and to have my ears perked in all these different outlets. And like I said, now we're just, if you were to interview him, the interview would go very similar to this one. We are so similar.
So you guys are similar?
Everything from booze, coffee, geekery. Now, he doesn't do the tech side of things, but he's the guy that unfortunately got me hooked on tone and that whole rabbit hole of gear.
Yeah, but you built a company now, so
yeah. So he wants a piece of it. Yeah. So I better not make too much money. He's gonna claim a part of it. But yeah, we share a lot of interests, all the way to automotives. Man, he likes fast vintage performance machines too.
That's funny.
But absolutely, Chris. He's the cat, and yeah, it's because of him I'm kind of doing what I'm doing now, and I'm a broke musician. So thanks a lot, buddy.
Hey, I'm gonna get two more questions for you, Jason.
Yeah,
first one is, what have you learned about yourself as you've been going through this journey?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of aspects of that to look at too. Humility, I think, is definitely a key. Yeah, it's such a fierce, competitive career choice to go and try to play music, and everyone can do it and thinks they can do it better than you. And sometimes it's true, maybe they can, but looking outside in and putting things in social context, how to communicate with people, has definitely been something I've learned. I can be hot-headed from time to time. I'm definitely have a cockiness about me, but not for any other reason that unless I feel like, look, man, I'm right. But it's never about proving a point, because it's not about.
That's actually surprising that you said that. I wouldn't.
No, it's not about.
Wouldn't have thought that.
It's just someone has to be right. And when it comes to this, a lot of new guys come into town and think it's all about who they know, and it's not. A big piece of advice I've learned and I give to a lot of people. It's about who you're friends with. You can know everybody. You can have anyone's phone number. If you can't call them and ask them how their kids are doing and say, "What'd you do last Saturday? How's it going?" You're really not. It's not really that contact.
Yeah.
So I think. Socially being connected with everybody and, being as humble as you can and honing in your craft is the key. I've learned as a player, for me personally, and this doesn't translate to anybody else, or maybe it does, but for me personally, the subtleties of, and the intricate details of playing have been where I've developed more as a player, versus I've lost some technique ability or technical ability. I don't want to sit down and shred out licks for 4 hours a day, 8 hours a day like I used to. I mean, there's a time for that for me, but if I'm going to sit down and really practice hard, I want it to be applicable to what I'm doing and for me and my voice. If I get a gig, if MIPS requires me to take a wild and crazy 80s shred solo, so be it, we'll do it. But I'm not going to go above and beyond and, try to get back into that. I was doing shred 80s Joe Satriani, John Petrucci, Steve Vai stuff when I was 15, so I'm kind of well past that, and I just can't do it very well anymore.
No, I think that comment you made about the subtleties of playing are far more important than the technique.
Well,
is
at least in certain scenarios, and being a sideman, I think it's important because you have a lot of songwriters in this town, and it's not about you. It's about the song, So being able to adapt for whatever the song needs is the key. And so much being a chameleon is good, but having your own voice that actually translates to the music and what the artist wants to feel, whether they can express that to you or not. I think that's definitely key, and definitely what as a session player, what you do in the studio all the time as well. Unless you just have a producer down your neck telling you to bang some 3-part guitar harmony out or something. Then
Sure.
Then you just do it because it's your job. But yeah, it's yeah. I hope that answers the question. Sorry,
Totally cool, man.
There's so many different ways to look at that, because just going out and hanging out at a bar, eating a burger and drinking a beer with a few buddies can net you a job opportunity.
For sure.
Eating tacos and tequila might not have that day. It's just so, it's so coincidental, and, a lot of luck there too, and a lot of timing. But if you're friends with people, you're going to keep those connections without actually having to sell for them. You don't want to, hey man, heard of any gigs? We all do it, but you don't want to do it in a way that's, it's going to drive people away from you, I think.
Yeah. You don't want, like, oh yeah, here comes Justin. Let me turn around.
Turn around. He's going to ask if there's any gigs available.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes in that aesthetic we were talking about. I don't like to overmarket, because it's that's just my brand. Everyone's got a different style. Some people can do it so well and have so many outlets and be the face of their business, and some people you don't hear a word from, and then you find out they're planning on a world tour, and just like, well, I'm sure there was a great reason for that.
Yeah.
And well, I'd like to be like the latter. That'd be great to be on a world tour. But in general, it's worked pretty well as far as, majority of the touring being of the nation. And yeah, it's humility goes a long way, I think.
I agree with you. What is your biggest so far, business or personal win?
Honestly, for me, it's more about the business than. I've always wanted to play music, and I always have played music. So playing a venue was a bucket list thing, but the biggest win for me probably was being successful as an entrepreneur. I didn't go to school for business, so I have no problem learning on my own, and everything I've learned on business, from everything from taxation, legality, on trademarking, patents, web design, marketing. While I might not be the best at any of those, I'm confident in my ability to do them all myself, and I have. And I've run Thru-Tone completely with no one helping the business except the people that are maybe manufacturing things for me.
And it's a great lesson what you just said. You may not be the best at it, but that's not important. What's important is you got it done.
Well, yeah, if
you don't have, there's no
half-assing it would be a little different. There's a difference from having quality. My website might not be the best looking website, but if someone were to say it looked like garbage, I'd probably be a little butthurt about it, because I think it's clean.
Yeah,
it's not supposed to be flashy.
It doesn't have to be.
The thing is, it's like, I wanted to do it. Number one, because I don't want to spend the money. I don't have the money right now to pay for, someone to design and code the HTML. Whereas if I want to edit it, then I have to pay them more money to go back in and change the code. If I were to start the thing, maybe it won't look the greatest, but I have access to it full time, and I know how to go in and, edit it on my time. So, that's nice. And I am not ashamed, or I won't be hesitant in the least to know when I'm out of my zone or out of my element, when I need to bring someone in because it's important and the right thing to do. Say maybe get a lawyer for something down the line. There's no shame in that at all. If I need to have if a website's booming and I need an actual e-market or e-commerce setup, that's fine.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. But as long as you can do good work, good work's key, I think. You want a solid product in any regard. But yeah, the business for sure, entrepreneurship. That's I learned a lot over the years, man. Hell, I'm still learning. But
you'll have
hiccups. I'll tell you that. I've dotted my I's and crossed my T's. And one guy actually had my name, Thru-Tone, on a product from Australia, which I only have the trademark in the States, so that's okay. But he was shipping his product here to the States, and the local shop here in Nashville called me and let me know that their product, a Thru-Tone. So I reached out. I didn't do a cease and desist. I just reached out, and it was really cool as a business owner. I just want to let's see how the initial conversation goes. I know how to, end this problem really quickly.
Yeah, you get a C&D.
And they were really cool. They actually changed the name of their product, put out a little release to their customers, and were really cool about it. No cease and desist. We all win. They might have been out a little bit of money, but I wasn't really mad or anything at all. It was just to protect the brand.
Yeah. That sounds totally reasonable.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you learn as you go. And, you know, as long as you're on it and you're aware at all times what's happening, I'd say maybe the odds are in your favor.
Well, I would bet if we had a conversation in 7 years, and I only picked 7 years because you're 33, is a nice round number, that you'll have 2 or 3 more ventures going.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, hell, I hope it doesn't take 7 years for us to have a conversation.
No, it's not going to. But
actually moved down to Florida, so I was near your stomping grounds.
When? Where do they live?
They're in the Villages. They did the Retirement USA.
Oh yeah, that's.
Oh boy,
yeah,
it's not my favorite place to say the least.
About
but
an hour and a half away from here.
The old man's worked his ass off his whole life, and now he can play golf and not have to shovel snow. So if they're happy, you know, I'm happy. But yeah, hopefully we can hang out soon.
Yeah, next time you come down here, man.
I'm near. Next time, you know, you come through Nashville, you got to absolutely let me know. And
I'll be up there in the summer.
We will grab a cocktail or
a cigar.
And a cigar, not a problem.
Hey, man, I can't thank you enough for your time. Let me tell people where they can find you. First of all, it's Justin Butler. He's really, I mean, honestly, like a dozen people have said you've got to interview Justin because he's such a great player. So if you're in town, please go check him out at the Sutler on 8th Avenue. He has a gig every other Tuesday. It's called MIPS, M-I-P-S. You could also check him out on YouTube at What Is MIPS? MIPS, on Instagram at Thru-Tone FX. That's ThruToneFX, and also Chops612. Is your birthday June 12th or something?
That's it, June 12th.
Wow, I have superpowers. Chops612, and he's really got some cool stuff on his Instagram. And if you're into, you know, modified volume pedals, he does it like nobody else at thru-tone.com. That's through THRU-tone.com. And if you need mods on your pedals or on your amplifier, as my cat walks literally on top of me, check him out again at thru-tone.com. Anything else, man? Did I miss anything?
Man, I mean, that was more than necessary. I really appreciate it.
I want people.
It's been an honor. I can't thank you enough for inviting me on the show, and I'm glad we got it arranged. I apologize about the previous attempt.
No, man, and also I want to give a shout out to your parents because they've done a really good job. I know they know this already, but you're such a hustler and you're a really hardworking guy, and I think I really admire your balanced. I'm not that balanced, so I'm really in admiration. I mean, I have loads of things I do, but I don't do them consistently like you do, and I should. You know, yeah. I go to the gym every day. That's my, you know, when I play guitar, you know, I can't only do so much, but I'm really impressed with all the stuff you do. So shout out to Mom and Dad. You're a bright guy. And
they're the best. They're absolutely the most supportive. Dad's birthday today, too. So
all right, man. Give him a shout out. Happy birthday, Mr. Butler.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, man, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Justin Butler as much as I did. Thanks again to Justin for spending time with us. I appreciate it. And go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified about future episodes along with some cool stuff we got coming out. Be nice. Go play your guitar. And most important, have fun. We only get one life here. And as my cat was doing wacky stuff there. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.